From the moment Senator Sheldon Whitehouse opened his mouth, you could feel it. The tension, the pressure, the sense that this wasn't going to be another routine exchange. This was a collision course, a direct confrontation that pushed past political pleasantries and dove straight into the uncomfortable questions most officials hope never surface. And when Pam Bondi realized where his line of inquiry was headed, Epstein, Trump, sealed testimony, missing money, the gloves came off fast. What unfolded wasn't just a disagreement. It was a spectacle of deflection, accusation, and two people trying to control a narrative neither could fully contain.
White House. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review
different question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr.
Never
Homan
mind. I can
was
see I'm not going to get a straight
full
answer from you to a very simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and you rail against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second, wait a
Yet
second.
you work with dark
Wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones.
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at zero of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that? Okay. Here's what well, no, we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Seralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges.
Including orchestration.
Who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo, thank you.
Okay, before Cornyn speaks, I get kind of amused about my Democratic colleagues bringing up Treasury suspicious activity reports regarding Epstein. When Senator Johnson and I issued our Biden family reports in 2020, we used information from these very same type of documents. And you know what? We were criticized by our Democratic colleagues for doing so, and for years they ignored the evidence of the Biden family criminality.
What made this clash so gripping wasn't simply the topic, though the mention of Epstein and questionable payments would rattle any room, but how quickly the conversation collapsed into trench warfare. Whitehouse wasn't just asking broad political questions, he was drilling down to specifics, the kind of specifics that force people to either answer directly or scramble. What happened to the $50,000, he repeated, again and again, as if peeling back layers of excuses. And while Bondi kept looping back to canned lines about investigations being fully reviewed, the senator wasn't having it. He wasn't interested in summaries. He wanted facts, accountability, and an explanation that never came. It's these moments that reveal how government functions under scrutiny. You could see Whitehouse's frustration in real time, that sense of speaking into a wall designed to absorb questions but reflect no answers. It's a common pattern in oversight hearings. The more pointed the question, the more evasive the response. But viewers watching this exchange learn something subtle but critical about power dynamics. When an official repeatedly refuses to confirm basic procedural details, was money returned? Was testimony sealed? Was a transcript released? It teaches us more about the system than any straightforward answer ever could. It shows how institutions can be both structured and ambiguous, transparent and opaque, depending on who's speaking and what's at stake. Then came the pivot, the strategic deflection. Bondi went on offense, not by answering the question, but by attacking Whitehouse personally, bringing up dark money groups, fundraising connections, and irrelevant political side battles. That tactic wasn't accidental. It's designed to shift focus from the pressure point and create a moral stalemate where both sides look compromised, even if only one is being questioned. This is the oldest trick in adversarial politics. When you can't neutralize the question, neutralize the questioner. But Whitehouse didn't let her rewrite the moment. He pressed harder. If Kash Patel claimed his testimony was sealed, who sealed it? If transcripts were released, who authorized it? These are basic oversight questions. Watching him try and fail to get direct answers exposes how fragile accountability becomes when the people holding the information refuse to participate in the inquiry. What do you think viewers should take from that dynamic? Do you believe this level of stonewalling is intentional, cultural, or systemic? And then came the volcano moment, the Epstein question. Whitehouse referenced reporting that Epstein allegedly showed people photographs of Trump with half-dressed young women, asking whether the FBI had located or reviewed those images. It was a legitimate question based on public claims, but the reaction was volcanic. Bondi didn't deflect, she exploded, accusing him of pushing salacious remarks and immediately counterattacking with references to wealthy donors and flight logs. This wasn't just political defensiveness, it was the raw discomfort of being asked about a case filled with dark implications and unanswered questions. Yet, it's important for viewers to understand the educational takeaway here. Congressional oversight isn't about spectacle. It's about evaluating whether federal institutions are doing the job we entrust to them, following leads, reviewing evidence, and assessing risk. When hundreds of suspicious activity reports tied to Epstein accounts remain untouched, that's not a political talking point. It's a failure of basic investigative due diligence. Moments like this push us to reflect. How do politically charged cases distort the pursuit of truth? What happens when personal loyalties, political alliances, or institutional caution override the responsibility to investigate? By the time Whitehouse moved to the question about threats against federal judges, the tone shifted from confrontation to something more sobering. Here, Bondi finally softened and offered cooperation. And that tells us something too. Even the most combative exchanges can reveal areas where officials recognize genuine danger. Threats to federal judges transcend politics. That moment of agreement, brief as it was, reminded everyone watching that oversight isn't just conflict. It's also about protecting the people who uphold the system, even when the system feels strained. So as viewers, what do we take from this entire exchange? The evasiveness, the defensiveness, the political counterattacks, they all paint a clearer picture of how modern oversight operates. It's not just about truth, it's about navigating narratives, protecting alliances, and strategically revealing as little as possible. But the real power lies in the questions themselves. They force us to look at what isn't being answered, and why.
If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments whose approach in this hearing do you believe actually served the public, and why? I want to hear your take.